come on, come on. This is absolutely typical. You've got a big job to do, you rely on your gas engines, and lo and behold, the time you really need them, they don't stop. So today, I'm going to be using some alternative tools, and we're going to tidy up this bed in front of a pond and hopefully give it a couple more weeks of looking spectacular, because I can see some beautiful flowers back there that are being blocked. Well, I've gathered all my tools and I've laid them out just like an operating room. So let's start with some personal equipment, which is absolutely vital. Firstly, if you're cutting things, you're working amongst plants, I do highly recommend putting on safety glasses. Gloves, very, very important. What I've done is actually divide this into three groups. We've got cutting materials, we've got gathering materials, and we've got removing materials at the other end. Cutting materials, well, you can't beat a pair of loppers. They're always, especially this one, it's geared. Very, very strong, cuts up to probably about 1.5 inches diameter. In my pocket, I have a little hand secateurs or pruners, probably up to about 1/2 inch and we're good. If you want anything bigger, then you've got to go to this. I like these little mini chainsaws. Again, it is a chainsaw, so all the safety things apply. Don't think just because it's small, it's not going to harm you, but it is easy to manipulate. And again, it does need sharpening. Often I see people's tools that they're very blunt and they wonder why it's not cutting. Often the chainsaw blade needs sharpening, so bear that in mind. And these you're seeing everywhere now, the battery-operated garden tools. This is a popular brand. I've got a heavy-duty battery here, and I've got a couple on my charger all ready to go, just in case I wear them out. Hedge trimmer, vital for a minute. And the blowers. Again, the blowers, you can see I had a problem with my one starting. These things start no matter what. So very, very useful. So other part of gathering tools are the rakes. And these are the spring rakes, able to go into fine details, not going to do too much damage to the plants if you're scraping on top of a perennial. Beware that the stone rake can do a lot of damage to the tops of perennials, so use that one with caution. In terms of removing stuff, in the end, I find these trash cans are by far the best in combination with a wheelbarrow. You can stuff stuff in there. Well, here's a plea for anyone who's good at engineering things. This is a grabber, but it was a copy of one I used in England for years and years and years, and it seemed to last forever. I brought it over here, then I lost it. And this one I brought on the market, and it's just not the same quality steel. And you can see, just like in an orthopedic operating room, I've had to pin the shaft here. I've had to reinforce this. It still works though, it still does its job, but if someone could devise, there are lots on the market. I've tried probably 6 or 7 recently, none of them are very good. Most of these are perennials, there's a few ornamental grasses in it, 1 or 2 little shrubs, but be very careful though when you're cutting around shrubs that you don't damage the bark at the bottom. I'm going to just lubricate this a little bit with 3-in-1 oil. 3-in-1 oil's been around since I've been a little kid. Back in England, we had it as well. I've got a grass here that actually it's an offshoot. It really wasn't the original grass I put in there. I'm going to take this one out of the way very carefully. I hover about 2-3 inches above the ground. And slowly work my way. A Rebecca here with a geranium in it. I'm going to go a lot of these seed heads often provide a source of food for birds during the winter, so only cut back those areas that are particularly important to look more groomed. If you've got other areas, leave them just wild. It won't do the plants any harm. So this is a perennial hibiscus, swamp hibiscus. They grow very well in our area. They have those massive dinner plate sized flowers. But they are a perennial. They are going to die right down to the ground. So I'm going to cut a little higher, not 2 to 3 inches. I'm going to leave the stems up about 8-9 inches. One reason I do that is because if it's any lower, people don't see them and they step on them, they could trip on them. But even worse than that, they could actually break the stem down low and it will cause a wound. And I think that can help the plant rot away in the winter. Well, they are hardy and they do come back, but they come back much later. and that fools people because they're looking there, they're seeing the other plants with lots of new green leaves coming up, and the hardy hibiscus is just sitting there. But about 2 to 3 weeks later, it starts to shoot from a base. It doesn't shoot from these stems we've cut. It will shoot from a little bit lower. Well, this is the remains of a beautiful aster. I'm going to cut this about 2 to 3 inches above, but just see how it slices through. It's like a hot knife through butter. Right on top of my head. I was asking for that. It gives you a real good all-body workout. So you're bending your knees, you're using your arms, and keeping your torso nice and tight, nice and firm. So you can probably see there are bits of Rudbeckia still left, which is fine. Just the bulk of it I'm taking away. And of course it's revealed this beautiful late blooming aster behind, and that was my goal of doing this. So you can open these really nice and wide. You can grab the pile and then shove them all the way in. Let it go in, and then I'm gonna push them down a bit more. There we go. Make room for some more. And it certainly saves your back. And this one I'm going to bend in half, right in the middle. And of course the final bits, I've got piles of leaves everywhere, so I don't really have to pick all this up. Make sure that it's actually designed to chop up the leaves or whatever you're collecting in it. They often will have a metal impeller and some serrated teeth in there that will chop them up as well. This one does. I've checked it and we've used it for many years. A little bit obsessive, you might say, but it seems to work very well. Let me just show you. Extremely useful for those awkward places where the blower can't get rid of the leaves or the debris. You can poke it under benches, under staircases, and suck all of those leaves out successfully. And the nice thing about it, the bag will contain some shredded organic matter that you can use as a mulch. Well, that looks better, doesn't it? Really much, much better. It's opened it right up. We can see that beautiful aster. And I've also noticed there's a couple of nice plants on the other side in flower. Chlorocurtis chrysanthemum and autumn sun Rudbeckia. So don't go away when we come back. I've got some tips for your water garden, for your ponds, to guarantee that your pond or whatever it is will come back much healthier next year.